Bam. Hello. Good evening. How are you? It's 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Is it Tuesday? I'll have to check. Yeah, it's been Tuesday all day apparently. You are watching the Deerwood Realty live stream. You should be a part of it. You should get in the chat. You should put in comments later on. We have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Moral failings in the church. Now, you wouldn't think that would be something you would talk about in a real estate live stream, but you know what? It's in Google Trends, and I have some things to say about it. I've looked at this. Moral failings in general. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some things I saw on Twitter. Is the housing market going to collapse? Is it already collapsing and we just don't know? Like 3 months ago, I got a comment on one of my videos where, you know, the guy's like, ha, you're so stupid in Florida. Everything's going to hell right now. And you just don't know. And it's like, well, I'm in Missouri. I'm in St. Louis. And as I've told you yesterday, I went to go show a house and I scheduled a showing and the house was already under contract. It hadn't even been on the market 24 hours. And it wasn't that great of a house. It didn't warrant to me the quick sale. So I don't know where you're thinking, but I mean, where I'm at, it hasn't slowed down like that. Now, if you have a terrible house and you've priced it wrong, but when has that ever worked out? Like, I guess this summer. I guess I answered my own question. So then we'll talk about. I had a closing today. That was good. A closing. Weird. I feel like I almost have to define what a closing is. If you don't do real estate, closing is when you actually get paid as a real estate agent. It's the day the house closes and it sells. On my listings, you'll never see sold. You won't see sold fast. You won't see anything. You'll see under contract. Why? Because all kinds of things can happen during the time that you get a house under contract and the time you actually get it sold. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about a court case in, I believe, Texas, a case of a realtor being murdered. And the killer finally brought to justice. We'll talk about what I think about those types of people. Maybe we'll get into some other things. I don't know. Again, I'm going to try and bring the excitement level down. And you say, well, John, it's not really that exciting as it is. So, I mean, be careful. But, you know, the intensity level, the excitement, the way I feel about things, if I'm not careful, it just causes me to just clam up, and I've got a show to do. So, you probably don't know who I am. You probably just, you know, people get on my YouTube channel and they're like, this seems like something I'd watch. And then you don't know what I'm talking about. So who am I? Well, my name is John Schenk, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty, a small residential real estate firm in St. Louis, Missouri. We help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. We do a little bit of commercial stuff on the side, but nothing really significant. I own the brokerage, and that's what I do. Now, on my live stream, we talk about, you know, pop culture, talk about real estate news, and there's commentary. So that's what we'll do tonight. I take questions from the audience, but nobody ever writes a question that I can answer. So it's kind of lonely here. Chat has always been kind of terrible, but maybe someday it'll get better. We are on 99 subscribers as of today. If you would have told me a year ago when I started that we'd be at 99 subscribers today, I would say, you're an idiot. We're going to have thousands of subscribers. Thousands of people are going to want to talk about real estate every night of the week online, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever. That's what I would have told you. The humbling of YouTube, the humbling of, you know, anything that you do is quite fun. And I have been humbled. I have been put in my place, and it's funny to me because we'll just keep going and just keep going. Nobody wants to talk about real estate today. You don't have to. That's the way it is. But I'll tell you, I think like the first 30 subscribers were like family and friends. Okay. And then I got up to about 60 subscribers, and I don't know I don't know if I bungled it, but what I did was I created another channel. I did Deerwood Realty live streams. And I thought that would be great because people that watched my Deerwood Realty stuff that didn't want to watch a live stream could go there and just watch the live streams. None of my audience went with me to the live streams. And so now all of a sudden I'm live streaming to like 4 people ever. And it didn't make any sense. It was never growing. It was never doing any better. It was just sitting there and it was looking worse and worse and worse. So I jumped back on the Deerwood Realty main channel maybe 2 months ago. And I had some success with a few shorts, and I'm finally at 99. I had like 30 subscribers in like 2 days. And so now hopefully we'll get to 100. My goal obviously is to be the largest real estate agent live stream in the country. I think I'll be okay because nobody else is doing it. So why don't you come and join me? And that's the goal now. What kind of numbers are going to take for subscribers? I don't know. I'm just like, if I get to 100 subscribers, I want to be 200 subscribers. If I get to 200, I get to 300. That's my goal. It's not just as easy as, it just doesn't happen overnight, apparently, not on the YouTube, not with my content. And that's okay. We'll just work through it. I did want to talk about the closing a day for a couple of reasons. Number one, let me just give you a scenario that happens to me all the time when I represent buyers. So we know the closing date, the day we get an accepted offer. Like 70% of the time, it's going to be that date. And so there's always this conflict between what your buyer wants as far as the date and the date that you agreed to in the offer. And let me try to explain it like this. If you say, hey, we need to close in 30 days. Okay. That's like a quick closing here in St. Louis. Okay. The buyer isn't really paying attention to those dates because they don't know that they're actually going to get the house with that offer. Plus, if you write an offer on a Friday and they're not accepting an offer till Monday, you got 3 more days in there. But anyway, let's just say you get to 30 days. Well, what can easily happen is all of a sudden the buyer's like, hey, that date, we got to move it. Why do you have to move it? Well, I have to go to work that day or something else. And it's like, no, that's what we signed. Like, we agreed to close on this day. And it's always kind of rough because, like, I only like to close between Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't like to close on Mondays. I don't like to close on Fridays. So it's weird because if I have to go back to the listing agent, now I have to ask for a concession. I haven't even gotten through inspections yet, and I'm asking for a concession on the date. So it doesn't go very well. But anyway, you get to the point where you're at closing and you close on the house. Okay. You sign all the paperwork, but that doesn't mean that the loan has been funded. Okay. So like today we closed on the house at 10:30. It didn't get funded until 1:30. For that time, the buyer, legally owns the house, but it hasn't been funded. So I can't give them the keys. So you sit there at a closing and you're like, congratulations, you can't get into your house. And this also has effects for different things. So like, let's say you scheduled a closing at like 3 PM. Buyer's not getting that house. Wires get shut down at like 3:30. So it's always odd to me. And like, I have really good lenders, and they'll have the money in the account. They'll have the money at the escrow account, at the title company before we close, like in the morning. And it just depends on when the other side signs, but it's rough. You just signed it. Like today, the guy bought a house for maybe $250,000. First time home buyer. Here, this guy just buys a house, and now, I can't give him the keys. It's a really weird thing. You put down probably like $25,000, $30,000, and he has no keys or anything like that. And I just wish there was a way to do it so that whenever we had a closing, I hand him the keys. Congratulations. Now, let's talk about some of my pet peeves because you're with me. I despise using my buyers or sellers as props in my social media marketing. Okay. You will never see Deerwood Realty with some stupid ass key, somebody holding it, and me saying I did a great job with these people. and look, they've got a house. You'll never see me with a sign that says for sale. It just isn't going to happen because I hate it. Now, does that get people to follow you on social media? Maybe. I know a guy that's on social media seems to be having success with that, and he's always, posting these people, and they're all. But I don't want to use my buyers or sellers as props. If I, for instance, if I list a house, okay, and it sells above asking, and the transaction goes pretty smoothly, and the seller's very happy, you're not going to see me at the closing table taking a picture of the seller. Like, that's like punishment to me for having done a good job. Why would you ever do such a thing? And so I can't stand it. I'd love to hear you put it in the chat, put it in the comments. What do you think about that stupid ass key and this idea that I'm so happy I bought a house here. Yay. It's dumb. Oh, and what do you think about your agent using you as a prop? Are they paying you to be a prop? This is something that irritates me. But then, it's weird. Like, I'm gonna switch topics just for a second, but it's gonna be kind of gonna relate. Okay. So this might be a little bit too heavy for a live stream, so stop me if it gets a little weird. But I had the closing, okay, and then I went to lunch with a friend. And as I was leaving lunch, I drove by a real estate brokerage where there's a guy he does pretty well for himself. I know of him. And he had his moving van with his picture and his mug on it. And I know he drives a black Cadillac. I know exactly what he drives because I've seen him. And I looked at him, and I looked at that box van that he's got, and I just thought to myself, if this is what it's going to take for me to make it in this business, then I don't want to make it in the business. And it's a weird thing to say, but if you're in the real estate sales business, okay, there's just these cliche things that you see over and over and over again. And part of me wonders if people are just doing it to kind of go through the motions. So like if you have success, you buy a moving van, and then you offer to people when they move, as if they really want that. But it's you're advertising all over the wherever they drive to, and it's like, it's cliche. It's like what everybody does. What I was talking about earlier with the keys, it's cliche. It's what everybody does. When you look at listing, when you look at signs of listing agents, and it's like a 25-year-old blonde dressed, doesn't seem really business casual, I wouldn't say, or the old lady that did the glamour shots photo, and she hasn't even, that was 20 years ago. These things are cliche. When you get a recipe card from the broker, like, who's doing this anymore? And so if an agent does all those things, does that make them a good agent? Or do you just do it because like everyone else does it? I know that with my brokerage, I've definitely made some decisions that I thought were right, but maybe weren't right. For instance, originally Deerwood Realty was all about, it was all about the brand Deerwood Realty. It was never based on me, John Schenk. And that was probably a mistake, because I was the biggest supporter for Deerwood Realty. I was the biggest driver of Deerwood Realty going forward. And yet I would always brand Deerwood Realty above myself. So that was a mistake that I made. And I'm okay with that. And then what came with that though was my face. I didn't have my face out there. Like if you see a thumbnail from a YouTube video, you'll see my face on there probably 85% of the time. When you see something marketing from Deerwood Realty now, you're going to see my face. I never wanted to do that. I was always too shy to do that when I started the business. you know, real estate sales is at its very core, it's a people business. You have to know a lot of people. They have to be your family, your friends, friends of friends. You need the help of your community, or you will not make it as a real estate agent. 95% of the calls I get from people are from, former clients, friends of former clients. Somebody's put in a good word for me and they call me. And it's that high. I could go on Zillow. I could spend $3,000 and $4,000 a month on Zillow leads and not even come close to getting the leads that I get from people that I've done good business with. It's always been very important to me to do the right thing, to do the good business, to be the good resource for people when they're talking about real estate, when they're considering doing things. As an example, yesterday, I had a fellow call me about 10 o'clock in the morning. He said, John, I got your name from, one of your former clients, and they said you did a really good job. I'm living in a rental. I'm currently living in a rental, and I'd like to buy it, but I don't know that my credit's any good, and I don't know what I would have to do that. Can you help me? And it's like, well, you already found the house, so I'm not going to be of any assistance to you in that regard, but I have a lender over here that might be able to help you get to where you need to go, and I'm happy to give you that information. I probably won't get a sale off of that. Probably won't make any money, but I still got a referral from one of my past clients, and I worked with them maybe 7 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time, and this makes me happy. This business to me is a marathon. Okay, it's not a sprint. And God, by the way I've run it, you can know that it's that way. But I always just want to do the right thing. Always want to do the best I can for every single client that I have, and let everything else take care of itself. Now that's frustrating because, how many deals are you doing per year where you can actually get that quantum, that group, enough people to know what you're doing and want to be a part of it? I can tell you right now that if you came and wanted to work with me, it would be a different experience than anything you've ever experienced with another real estate agent. Different, but I don't know if it would be better. I don't know anything like that because I only know how I do my business. And it's fascinating to me to see how others conduct their business, how they think it's okay to do certain things that I refuse to do. But hopefully you don't have to do all these things that every other agent does just because every other agent does them. Hopefully I don't need a moving van to have my buyers and sellers be happy to use me with their deals. Now, I want to tell you about something that I found out today that I was disappointed by. So if you're it's about commission, and let's just talk about this. So say you're listing a property for sale. You dictate the commission for yourself as the listing agent and the buyer's agent. What are you offering the buyer's agent when they bring a buyer to your deal? I saw a deal today where the listing agent charged a ginormous commission, and the house didn't warrant it. There was nothing for them to do other than list it. And then not only did they list it for a ginormous commission, they shorted the buyer's agent. Yeesh. How greedy and how disgusting of a human are you? God. So what am I telling you as sellers? Just because you get a referral from your bestie, okay, ask, hey, what's the commission on this? Now, if an agent comes to you and says, this is my commission, and then you say, well, that's not good enough, and they automatically start cutting it, just know that they're not going to help you very much when they're listing your house for sale. Just know that they're going to be like, if the buyer's agent says, we want this concession, they're going to fold like a pancake. Pancakes don't fold. Fold like they say deck of cards, but that doesn't make any sense to me. They don't fold a deck of cards. Anyway, that's not going to be your best bet. But at the same time, talk to your friends like, hey, how much did you pay to sell your house? Do you remember? What was the percentage? Do you remember? because man, you can get really hosed. And I just watched a group get hosed today. And I mean, I wasn't the listing agent. I was the buyer's agent. So anyway, they used to say trust but verify under the bush ears, which nothing good came with the bush ears. But you should probably pay attention to that. Like, I have never been too defensive over my commission. I'll tell you what it is, but I won't tell you what it is until I know exactly what I'm getting into. And that's something where I think there could be a bit of an imbalance between seller and me. If I go to your house and I'm going to have to list it, and and looks like someone is a hoarder, it's going to be hard for me to sell that house. It's going to be hard because what pictures am I taking? What am I taking pictures of? You're hoarding. What am I saying? I can't take a picture of the kitchen because there's literally, you can't see the floor in the picture. So, now I got to work harder. Plus, what is the package? That's one question I think you can ask any agent. What are you doing to earn my commission? Like, what are you going to do? What are you doing? Like, are you taking pictures with your iPhone? Like, what are we doing here? Are we doing professional videos? Are we doing floor plans? What are we doing are you just packaging the money and just leaving? And that's fine. I mean, just tell me so I know. But man, what I saw today, I kind of made me sick. And then, like, let's talk about this between you and me. It's never made sense to me to short the buyer's agent's commission. Like if you're going to charge X as a listing agent, okay, now you're going to say that the buyer's agent doesn't deserve their cut. Like, why? Especially in a slow market, you should be offering more to the buyer's agent. After all, they're going to be spending their time driving around house after house after house. And do you want to be on their list? You absolutely do. Shorting the buyer's agent seems like the worst plan in the world. In a strong market, I can see how you would want to get away with it. But you just need to know that when you're shorting the buyer's agent, they're going to get their money and they're going to remember you. And I'll just leave it at that. And then the next thing I want to say regarding this is I believe in karma, which is probably terrible for me. But look, if you're a listing agent and you screw over enough of your sellers, over time, they will fix the problem for you. They will fix the problem for you because you're not going to be able to get away with doing what you did on this deal over time. Just putting it out there. Yeah. So that was that. So how do I think the biggest thing on a day where you close on a property, I mean, I am more relaxed now, okay, than I have been in months. I walked you through, you can see in YouTube, there have been times where I have just been beside myself because I'd been showing buyers homes and writing offers and being rejected and not even coming close. Went to a cattle call one time of a listing where there were like 400 people walking through the house. We couldn't even get into the house. And it was not for an expensive home. Okay. I think the asking price was $165. I think it ended up selling for like $240. It was a stupid deal. But I mean, you have to have some level of humility as a real estate agent. I mean, it's just part of it. If you're trying to buy a house and there's other people want to buy the house and you don't get it, it's just, you have to be humble because, no matter how great you think you are, when you write an offer that isn't as good as somebody else's, you're going to look like an idiot. But anyway, after closing and after I've had quite a few closings in the past couple of weeks, the stress level is definitely lower. Now, here's the vicious thing about being a real estate agent. I might be sitting on cash now, but I may not have another closing for months. It's one of those things where you have cash, but you need it just to survive the bad times. One of the things that I would mention is as people talk about the housing market collapsing. Okay, as people talk about, that's going to be terrible for everybody and everything. I mean, I went through a period of almost a year where I was just showing houses and never, ever, ever getting one under contract. And I was writing offers 30, 35, 40, 50, $60,000 over asking and still getting nothing. I still have a friend in the business who's been working with one buyer that's in the sevens, and they never get a house under contract because somebody always outbids them. And it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So, I'm not worried as much as you would think about a housing market collapse, because my business is based on people that need to buy homes and need to sell homes. It's not based on some sort of investment. I don't ever sit there and say, you need to buy this house because it's going to go up 30% this year. I just think that'd be totally, how do I put it? First of all, totally wrong. I have no idea what a house is going to do in a year. And it would be giving bad financial advice. And I believe cold AC. I don't know that you're acting as a fiduciary, but I think you are. I don't remember off the top of my head. I apologize. It's late. But you do have to look at your financial, your buyers or sellers' financial interests. You need to keep those front and center. So if you're on the buyer side, you're not telling them, hey, you should buy this house because it's going to be worth $1 million, in 2 years. That's not good. That's not good real estating. And so anyway, when the market goes down, it will. And when the market goes up, it's fine, because my business is based on transactions. And so I'm in a good spot now. Well, I feel bad in say 6 years from now, the housing market collapses. Okay. Well, I feel bad that I told somebody that the house that they purchased was a good idea. No, because of my approach. My approach has always been, when we go look at houses to buy, we look at as many houses as we can in the particular location that carry the same characteristics and the same, the same characteristics or similar characteristics, so that you can, location, price, amenities, so that when you make an offer on a house, when you're working with me, you don't have this buyer's remorse, because you know that you got the best house you could possibly get for the money that you spent, based on the fact that we saw everything else available. Buying a house is buying it as a moment in time. Listing a house for sale is a moment in time. I can't tell you how many times people like, this weekend coming up is Labor Day weekend. Are you listing your house over Labor Day weekend? Do you expect a lot of people to be there? I mean, only the hardest of the hardcore buyers are going to buy a house over Labor Day weekend. That's just what it is. That's all there is to it. So anyway, I just wanted to go over a few things with you regarding the closing, regarding compensation for agents, regarding how I see the market, where I see the market, and how I work best within it. So that being said, let's start taking a look at some articles tonight. I wanted to do this one first. This was on Google Trends, and I feel like it's a way for me to I'm going to check something. Not as a complaint, but I'm not even getting notifications when my YouTube videos come out. It's so annoying. So I don't expect you to do it either. That's what I was checking. I was just seeing if the notification came out. It didn't come out for me. So if you were looking forward to tonight's stream, I did put it on Twitter that I would be streaming tonight, but I didn't know what time it would be. And so I apologize if I was late. Let's put it that way. So I'm ready to get into this article, and it's not a criticism, but let's look at it. This was on Google Trends, and let me see if I can stretch my mind with you, and come up with something cognizant, coherent. I would say coherent. Okay. It says Texas pastor is placed on leave after online relationship with a woman who is not his wife is exposed. Okay. And so, like, just to start, I wanted to go over a few things. One, people find great enjoyment in attacking people for moral failings or for ethical failings, especially if you're in a position of, an ethical position, or if you're in a position where people look up to you. It is a story as old as time, and yet there's something about it that resonates with the general public. And I think that has changed over time. Let me try and do this. Let me try and explain it this way. When I was a kid, I loved, like, firemen, firefighters. Like, they were so brave. They would run into burning buildings and save people with great risk to themselves. At 45, I still think firefighters are great, but they're not all great. They're not all great. There's some bad firefighters there. Okay. They're not all great. Same thing with the police. How many of you believe that the police were, I see it online all the time right now. You'll see, like, if you'll see someone say the advice maybe from a lawyer that says, don't talk to the police. If you're ever stopped or pulled over, don't talk to the police. And then you'll see people write comments like, well, you shouldn't have that problem if you weren't guilty. And it's like, no, there's some bad police out there. Did you ever believe politicians were morally upstanding people? There's that thing going around in Congress where they had these sexual allegations during the Me Too movement, and then they paid out all this money on the taxpayer dime, and then nobody released the names of the people that were doing this. That the January 6th committee members are, at least on the Republican side, are not great people. That's pretty obvious. And the politicians are, I can't imagine you thinking at this point in time that they are the standard bearers. But what about, like, the Pope? Who is it that and this goes back to a conversation or a saying that Charles Barkley did a long time ago. He's like, I'm not a role model. I don't want to be a role model. It was a big fight, and people were like, you should be a role model. What's odd is you can't assign someone a position of being a role model. You can't just take someone that's got moral failings and just say, by my own power, I'm giving you now this ability to be a role model. But anyway, in this particular case, you've got a couple of other competing things. One, I think it would be fair to say, of those who are religious, that there's a raised eyebrow to this movement of the prosperity gospel, they call it. This idea that, I don't know how to explain it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up. But it's a very infectious way to talk about religion. We only talk about good things. We never talk about the teachings of the Bible that may go against, popular culture. I myself, raised a Christian, have often endeavored to go back to the church. But every time I've looked into it, it's like what I was taught and what the church is, doing now is not where we are. We're not on the same page. And it hurts me to believe, it hurts me to say that. It hurts me to know that. But anyway, so if you are a pastor, okay, I mean, you should just know that there's a target on your back, like all the time. Now, this doesn't excuse what this guy did, okay? I don't want you to think that. I'm just saying you should just know better than to think that you have, because you get into this thing where, people who aren't religious assign a view of you, and people who are religious assign a view of you that may or may not be the case. But let's get into the article, because I think I'm going to break this one down in my own way with my own understanding. And hopefully you can come along with me and see where it is. It says Matt Chandler, the lead pastor of the Village Church in Flower Mound, told his congregation Sunday that the relationship was not romantic or sexual, but unguarded and unwise. So you're seeing this pastor step down, placed on leave because of text messages between himself and another woman that wasn't his wife. Now, let's switch over to real estate for a moment. I'm married. If there was a female texting me, I will text her back. I mean, as long as we're talking about real estate, that doesn't mean I should be suspended. If it's a fellow, I mean, it's just kind of a weird thing. It says the pastor of a prominent evangelical church in Texas announced an indefinite leave of absence Sunday as he made a tearful confession to his congregation about an online relationship with a woman who wasn't his wife. Now, to sit there and say that you've, that you've confessed to what? Having an online relationship with a woman that isn't your wife. Fascinating. I mean, we're not left with anything to know. What are we talking about here? It says the announcement by Matt Chandler, the lead pastor of the Village Church in Flower Mound, northwest of Dallas, comes amid controversy in his church's larger denomination, the Southern Baptist Convention. Leaders of the denomination revealed this month that several of its major entities are under investigation by the Justice Department in the wake of multiple problems relating to clergy sex abuse. Now, look, just the very idea that you have an issue and a problem with sex abuse in your denomination, I mean, that's bad. That's definitely not living up to your moral standards or moral teaching. The hypocrisy is so great. How can you possibly condemn others when you yourself are dealing with these issues? It's very tough for me to see. It says, Chandler said that the relationship was not romantic or sexual, but that it was unguarded and unwise, and that he fell short of his role as a church elder. And this is a fascinating question that we all kind of have to answer. It gets down to who we are as people. Like, I've always had this problem. Okay. And I'll explain it like this. When someone says, John, who are you, John? Who are you? Okay. It goes to a topic of what it is I do. Okay. So I am a real estate agent. And so when I say I'm a real estate agent, that gives you some basis from which you can judge me. You think. In St. Louis, there's a popular screening method that I think is an absolute joke, but we continue to do it to this day. It's, where did you graduate high school? What people don't understand is it's not nearly as innocent of a question as you're led to believe. It's a question that strikes right at the core of who you are, what your financial situation is, and what your beliefs are. As an example, if you went to a private Catholic school in St. Louis, okay, that would lead you to believe that you're doing well in life and you've got all these things going well for you. And if you went to a poor public school, then that would mean that you're probably not, part of the wealthy. And I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying this is what it is. And in this case, if you ask this, what do they call him, a pastor? What do you do? I'm a pastor. You got a formal set of beliefs that you think that this pastor is going to be, but we are more than our professions, right? Like, and I mean, in a way, before we had this ability to communicate all the time, without all these cameras everywhere, without the internet everywhere, I suspect people could lead double lives very easily. Well, I know for a fact, I remember reading about people in New York whose, father went to work and didn't come home for like 3 days. And it turns out the guy had a whole nother family. I mean, it's just bizarre. But anyway, it says, unguarded, unwise, not romantic or sexual. And it's like, what did you do? Did you say a bad joke, an off-color joke? I mean, to be suspended from your, church? Like what the hell? It says, he said an investigation started this year, but he didn't provide many details. Several months ago, a woman approached me here in the foyer. She had some concerns for how I was DMing on Instagram with a friend of hers. I didn't think I'd done anything wrong in that, he said, adding that his wife and the husband of the woman he was messaging knew about their correspondence. So, like, for me, like, it's very fascinating. Like, in sales, like, there in a relationship, there's normally one person that's your point of contact. So if it's a husband and wife, sometimes the husband is the point of contact and sometimes the wife is the point of contact. Right now in the deals that I've got with married people, one of them is the wife, and I got a lot of single owners right now. Yeah, that's it. But I'll happily talk. Like, sometimes the husband has a job where they can't get free to text me during the day or something like that. It makes perfect sense. If the roles were reversed, if the husband said, I wanted to talk to you all the time or something like that, I would talk to the husband all the time. I mean, I have no issues with that. So I'm a little bit confused. I'm a little bit taken aback by what this fellow could have possibly been doing. You're DMing on Instagram. Like, it says, Chandler said he immediately flagged the woman's concerns to the church elders and his wife. The elders commissioned an independent law firm to review his messaging history on social media, his cell phone, and email. So now he's saying that this woman told him she didn't think that this was good. I'm a little concerned with how you're DMing my friend, which is odd, in my opinion. That's weird. How does this, like, what is this going on here? And so then you say, well, you know what? Maybe you're right. I'll go talk to the elders and I'll talk to my wife and see what's going on. The elders are like, I don't know anything about this. We'll get a law firm to look at this stuff. It says he told his congregation the concerns about the relationship were really about frequency and familiarity, which played out in the form of coarse and foolish joking, some unbefitting my role here as lead pastor. So to me, this is what I'm reading, and I could be totally wrong. He told a fart joke. Okay. Now look, a fart joke is funny anytime. I'm sorry. But maybe in this particular way, maybe a fart joke isn't the right way to go. I mean, I don't want to, if he's like, could be worse. Okay. So the review found that Chandler's language wasn't appropriate for a pastor. So I don't know, like, I don't know religiously, like, if you can use the word fart. I mean, I don't know. I would think it's funny no matter who said it. Now, I don't know what else he was saying. I mean, maybe he said something, but it says the elders found that he violated internal social media use policies and failed to meet the church's standard for elders to be above reproach. So I'm just reading between the lines here. I'm not sure, but I believe that if you are a pastor, you are also an elder in this particular congregation. To me, we can get into this discussion about, is this free speech? Does he have a right to say whatever is he acting on behalf of the church when he is discussing farting? We're just going with that at this particular juncture. Like, or is he representing himself? I mean, are we using the church Instagram? Like, are we using our personal Instagram or the church Instagram to talk about these things? To me, it's not. It's just not as simple as saying, "Oh, well, you're a pastor, you can't do these things." It says, and by the way, internal social media use policies. I've got a handbook somewhere for the brokerage, and it's like, don't say dumb things. I don't know. The review also found that the interaction with the woman was a unique case and not part of a larger pattern. Josh Patterson, the church's other lead pastor, said after Chandler spoke. Now, let me just tell you how I would feel as someone in this situation, okay? My life is stressful. My life is difficult. If I was to go to worship on a Sunday morning, okay, like we go to church, we have a service, you have some music, you have some congregation, some fellowship, probably a sermon, and then we go home, okay? If you're going to ruin that, like I can't even go to church without you screwing it up with you confessing to a bunch of crap that you did. I mean, really? It's the same thing to me as when you have politics that have intertwined and interjected in the sporting world to the point where I can't even watch a football game without some kind of garbage being spewed about some crap I don't even care about. I just want to watch the game. I want to escape this horrid situation for just like a couple hours. I want to forget about all of my problems and just enjoy myself. Same thing with church. I mean, the fact that you would go there and have to put up with this garbage and not, have your moment to, it just drives me nuts. So it said, the elders determined that Chandler's behavior wasn't disqualifying of an elder, so that's okay. And then it says, but it did not rise to a level that would warrant more severe discipline. But he's already getting kicked out of the church for the time being. It says it was concluded that Chandler would take a disciplinary and developmental break from the pulpit, which allows him time to focus on growing greater awareness in this issue. So now it's like you can't be a pastor right now, but you can, figure out what you did wrong, and then you'll do better. Chandler said, if I'm honest, I'm really embarrassed. I feel stupid, feel dumb, feel like I'm embarrassing my wives and kid, putting a ton of pressure on our staff. I feel like I'm falling short for you. Well, you are. Let's be honest. I mean, again, we can't even get to like what really happened anymore. We got to beat around the bush. Like you said words, what were the words you used? It says, but the word of God holds me to a certain standard and I need to live into that. And I fell short. I'm apologizing to my family, to you and those involved in the situation. We don't even know what you're apologizing for. It's this random weird language. You talk to a woman too much on Instagram? That's not your wife? What the hell? Like, I don't even understand. It says, in a statement, the church said the timeline for Chandler's return will be dictated by the expectations the elders have laid out for his development. He's being redeveloped. Chandler will also step away from speaking engagements with Acts 29, a group that plants churches, of which he is the president and board chairman, according to an online statement. Now, I don't know how you plant a church. I mean, I think that's like, is that a euphemism for something else? Like, it's just like starting a church, but you're just saying planting churches. I don't know. It says, Chandler became pastor of First Baptist Church of Highland Village in Texas in 2002. It later became known as the Village Church. The Village Church's Flower Mound site draws about 4,500 attendees, according to the New York Times, and has planted several churches in the state. Like if you went to like a service in St. Louis, like for my denomination, I mean, you may get 100 people anymore. I mean, it's really sad. It says Chandler married his wife in 1999. They shared 3 children. Well, I mean, okay. He said he plans to remain connected to the church, saying at the top of his announcement he plans on being the pastor there for the next 20 years. And if I were him, no offense, I would just stop using Instagram. And it says Chandler's controversy is the latest to affect an influential evangelical church leader. It says the Reverend Bill Hybels resigned in 2018 as head of Willow Creek Community Church in Barrington, Illinois, following sexual misconduct allegations. And celebrity pastor Carl Lentz was fired in 2020 from Hillsong Church in New York because of moral failures. Now, I don't know what a celebrity pastor is. I don't even know what that is. Okay. But I'll just say there was Jimmy Swaggart, and this other Tammy Faye Baker. Was it Jim Baker? I'm sorry if I messed up on the Swaggart thing. I meant Baker. And he was, I mean, it was just ridiculous. Go back to that time and then tell me that this is anything new. I mean, I just wanted to get it out that I think that this is, it's the same old story. Like, look, you looked up to somebody and they didn't meet your standards. And so now they have to embarrass them. They have to prostrate themselves in front of you so that you can get your, because you've never done anything wrong. This is the way I see it. Now, I could be totally wrong. I don't know what I don't know what he did. If something comes down the road and says, oh my God, do you realize what he did? I mean, okay. But I'm just saying the story, the way it's presented, it's all to me like I'm used to it. I see how this goes. And it's kind of like old. It's kind of like old news. Now, if I'm 20 years old and I've never seen the Jimmy Baker, Tammy Faye Baker, that whole deal, maybe I'm surprised. This isn't surprising. Moving on. I think you want to talk about mortgage rates, don't you? Well, we're going to. On Deerwood Realty, we've got the mortgage rates. It says we're at 5.95% unchanged, 30-year fixed. Not good. Not great. Interest rates creeping up. I told you what I thought about mortgage rates going up. It's not a good thing. It's not something we should be looking forward to. Is the Fed trying to slow down the housing market, or are they trying to slow down inflation, or is it both? Are they trying to kill the housing market are they accidentally killing the housing market by trying to help, slow down inflation? I don't know. It's not good. It's not something we should be looking forward to. I'm a little bit concerned. I'd like to be at 5.5%. To be honest with you, I think the rest of my life, I'd rather just be at 5.5%. If it never moved, 5.5%. I'm uncomfortable with 6%, 6.5%, 7%. I mean, those that depend on a mortgage are in a bad spot when you're at 8%. Because the numbers don't work. So I'll just leave that there. We'll move on. Almost hit the wrong button. Now I want to get into I want to do more Twitter stuff. Because I just think I should. So this is stuff. Now I'm learning. I know how to use Twitter, but I don't know how to use it with my streaming software. And so just don't make too much fun of me. But so what I did was I saved things as bookmarks today that I thought were interesting, and I thought we could go over them. So here we go. And so this is from John Burns. I don't know who John Burns is. This was a topic I thought was interesting, and this might be, this is just a discussion. I don't know. It says, bad news for move-up home builders. 65% of homeowners thinks it's smarter to remodel than purchase a new home. Only 6% believe purchasing a new home is smarter. And it says households with an income of $50,000 plus by agreement with this statement it is smarter to remodel your home and stay in place than purchase a new house right now. Now, let me just go over the high points of this. Now, I'm gonna how do I do this? Okay, here we go. When I was maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, I had a buyer looking for a home in a area that was like the edge of development on St. Louis, in St. Louis. So they were right at the edge. They were looking there to buy a house. And the process of buying a house at that time would be look at a house that you like. The house is going to be dated. It's going to be really expensive. You put in an offer and you might, if you overbid, you might get the house. Okay. Or you could literally go 5 minutes away, put money down on a brand new house for less money and know that you would have a very, very nice home in less than 6 months that you're not fighting over for any reason and the pricing is pretty stable. It was an obvious move to buy the new house. It was obvious. It was so obvious. But that was on the edge of development in St. Louis. That was on the edge. That was right on the edge. When you talk about like St. Louis County, okay, there's a development going in across the street from me. I think it's like 400 homes. Okay. And oddly enough, it used to be a cemetery owned it. It was a Catholic cemetery, and I don't think they could afford to keep it up anymore. This is my thought. I don't know if it's true or not. But anyway, those houses there, because we're in like an established area, I mean, 450,000 is probably the starting price for a decent house there, all the way up to about the eights. Okay. Whereas you can get a home in my neighborhood, and I'm not saying my neighborhood's great or anything. I think we're topping out at like 350. So, I mean, now does it make sense to pay maybe a $300,000 premium for a new house? Yeesh. I've noticed with buyers of new homes a couple of things. One, typically it's like a young family, and typically they plan to stay there for the rest of their lives. There's lots of kids and everything running around in the neighborhood, things of this nature. And this is what I've noticed. Now, I don't mind selling new homes to older couples and things of that nature. I'm just saying this is what I've noticed. And I've also noticed then also that there's another buyer that just always wants to live in a new house. And so these people could be in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, 60s, any age, but they've never lived, or they may have lived in a used house once and they never ever want to go again. Something about building and living in a new subdivision or a new house appeals to them. It's in their nature. It's not necessarily based to me on logic, as this tweet presupposes. Okay. So where am I at on this? I don't think that this matters. I don't think that this matters at all. Big nothing. I don't know how to get this out of my bookmarks. Oh, see, it says clear all bookmarks. I don't want to clear all bookmarks because then we have this next Twitter thing. Oh, sorry. I'll scratch my eye here. Ugh. Okay. This is a thread. It says housing is in trouble. Okay. And it didn't really, like, I don't know. This guy is the Wisdom Tree head of equities and stocks, and he's a regular contributor on Financial Media. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. I don't even know. When I see it's got 1,500 retweets, 218 quote tweets, and 7,704. I mean, gosh, I saw this in like 3 places today, so I'm a little bit confused as to maybe I'm just in an echo chamber or something on Twitter. But let's continue with this. It says, Housing is in trouble. Oh, really? Okay. Well, tell me more about this. It says the combination of principal and interest is backbreaking, and maybe mortgage rates go even higher. So he's got his chart laid out, and he's got that the combination of principal and interest is $2,950 in the West. In the Midwest, it's $1,300, $1,700, and $2,125. I would say that I don't believe these numbers to be perfectly accurate, because I think that the house payments that I'm seeing my buyers get right now are higher than this $1,300 number for the most part. Okay, but let's go on. It says many people defended home price to income ratios when people were locking in at 2.75%. I'm not sure what the defense is anymore now that rates are 5% plus. So he's saying many people defended the home price to income ratios when people were locking in. So they're saying, like, look, money is cheap. The fact that people are spending all this money is great. I've told you guys a lot about this couple that I had. We looked at a house for $350,000. We went to $425 on the asking. The house sold for $465,000. I mean, it was terrible. It says, and so here you go, 14,923, 1635. The median new home price of $438,000 divided by the average hourly earnings of $27.32. So he's saying, look, at 2.5%, that made sense, but now we're going to play this game at 5% and higher on mortgage rates. It says, I'll show this table until I'm blue in the face. A total disappearance of the move-up buyer. The whole thing was built on 3% mortgages. You get one more bathroom for $1,500 more per month. No thanks. I've been talking about this for a long period of time. My buyers in particular, I have probably 4 people that would sell their homes immediately if and only if they could find something in the market that was better than their home for like a reasonable price. So for instance, let's just say somebody's currently living in a 1,400 square foot house. Okay. And they paid $200,000 for it 10 years ago. Okay. And they're looking right now at a 2,500 square foot house, a big move up. That house is coming in at $500,000 or more. They're not interested. They're not getting enough. They're not getting enough to make them want to move, and certainly not move up. So what's happening is you literally, what I've been saying is as a renter, you're paying an exorbitant fee to rent, okay, where you can't even save up money for a down payment. But if you manage to actually get enough money for a down payment, you buy this starter home that's $300,000, which makes no sense, okay? And then you've got so much tied up in just paying that mortgage that you can never move up. You can never get out of your starter home. This is a problem. It says, soft housing market. Ask the shareholders of Redfin and Zillow if those stock prices are predicting something a bit more dramatic than soft. Okay, and so he's showing this Redfin and Zillow. Now let me, as someone in the industry, talk about this real quick. Zillow makes its money off of agents. Okay. Agents are dumb enough to pay, because they can't build their own websites. And because we sold Realtor.com, okay, agents pay Zillow. Okay. And then what happened was Zillow changed their mind at some point in time. And they're like, you know what? We're going to start being agents and we're going to do iBuying. They closed that down after they lost like $470 million in a quarter. But they still, I mean, to me, they just pissed off agents everywhere. Now, some agents will still stay with them. I've never been a big Zillow person, so I'm not worried about it. But Zillow is a technology company that relies on agents. Their earnings should not be impacted in any way by a slowdown in housing because, again, agents are paying that money. Now, Redfin is another odd case. I use Redfin's research all the time, okay? I don't particularly like Redfin, though, as a company. They say that they're paying their people an average, a living wage and all this stuff. They've never made money paying people a living wage, which should tell you all you need to know about how difficult it is to be a real estate agent. When you have a company that comes in there and says, we're just going to pay a flat salary to you and it's going to be great, and they can't make it, or they've never made money. And so I reject the comparison between Zillow and Redfin. I think a more apt comparison would be, look at the stocks of Redfin versus whatever Coldwell Banker became. Is it like Today or how? I don't even know what their new name is. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see what it looks like against Compass. Let's look at real traditional brokerages and see how it goes. I don't think Berkshire Hathaway or Berkshire, well, we call it Berkshire. I think we just call it Berkshire. Anyway, whatever that used to be, whatever it is now, I think they're kind of mixed in with the whole stock of Warren Buffett. So I don't think you could do that, but I don't know. And here's the other thing. There's going to be a time when we go over the fact that the U.S. mortgage lenders are falling off left and right. Why is that? Well, I don't know. Well, I do know that they couldn't make it when they weren't doing refinancing. They could not make it on straight purchase. But I think that would be someplace where you could look and also get some sort of comparison. But here we go. Number 6 of 10, July new home supply records, July data. But July existing home data captures bid accepted in May, June with the closing document signed in July. That's right, 30 to 40 days out. It says, wait until the summer numbers come in, up we go. So this is existing homes, okay? And this says recessions, okay? And then new homes at 10.9. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think that the point being made here is that new homes are going higher, okay? And there are not people to buy them. I think that's what he's saying there. I mean, I'm doing the best I can. I don't have this. This says existing homes here and new homes here, but I don't know what the home supply, he's saying that there's 10.9 months of new home supply. I don't know. If you're not convinced, look at this. The right scale is inverted. The people who build houses for a living are telling us something. Maybe we should listen. Now, this is the existing home supply set to rise. It says the National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Index, right scale inverted. And then the black is monthly supply of U.S. existing single-family homes and condos. Both are going up. But in theory, that should be going down because it's inverted. I mean, don't make fun of me that I don't understand this. It says, and all of that COVID backlog of houses will be finishing soon. What happens when construction is finished? U.S. new privately owned housing units under construction. And so you're up at this number here, higher than ever before. 9 of 10. It says, with buyers freaked out, activity is tanking. This is 2 years annualized change, U.S. single family home sales. And it says we're just dropping. I don't know. It says because they cannot afford these prices, and says housing affordability is at 2005 levels. I mean, my own belief is, yes, housing is too expensive. Okay. And my own belief is, no, I don't think that building more houses is going to solve this problem. I don't think it's a supply problem. As much as I've been told this, I don't believe that. And we had that article yesterday where it talked about, as houses become more and more unaffordable, you're going to get situations where multiple families are going to be living in homes. Unrelated. Not something to look forward to. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share it with you. I hope you liked my view of Twitter today. It was a new idea, and hopefully it works. Let's go on to this. This is the last thing that I'm going to do tonight. This came out by a number of different news organizations. Let me get the date. August 17th, 2022. It says Texas executes man for slaying of Dallas real estate agent. Good. I've said for a long time, people that prey on working people deserve to die. When you are working in a convenience store and someone comes and shoots you up, you're working. You're just trying to, afford living. You're just trying to live, trying to afford your family. And somebody comes and takes that from you, they deserve death. And I'm not going to move off that position. It says Texas on Wednesday put to death a man who fatally stabbed a suburban Dallas real estate agent more than 16 years ago. The second execution this year is in what has been the nation's busiest death penalty state. I'm glad for them. Kisul Chakamananya received a lethal injection at the state penitentiary in Huntsville and was pronounced dead at 6:33. He was condemned for fatally stabbing 40-year-old Sarah Walker in July of 2006. She was found stabbed more than 30 times in a model home in McKinney, about 30 miles north of Dallas. Okay. This woman was stabbed 30 times, more than 30 times, by this dude. And I'm not sad that he's dead. It says in a brief statement after he was strapped to the death chamber journey, I don't really care what his statement was. He thanks Jesus Christ, ministers with the Texas prison system, and all these people in my life that aided me in this journey to murder this woman. It says, although no relatives of Walker attended the execution, he offered a message to them. I pray my death will bring them peace. It won't, but I'm glad you're dead. It says, as the 5 grams of the powerful sedative began flowing through IV lines in the veins of each arm, he looked toward a window through which his mother quietly watched a few feet away and mouthed, Mom, I love you. He took just 4 more breaths, gasped slightly, and there's no further movement. He was pronounced dead 15 minutes later. Ugh. It says, just before the execution took place, and at Chatkahuma's request, a Buddhist monk placed his right hand on the inmate's chest and read a passage from the book of Ecclesiastes that refers to a time for everything. He responded, Amen. What in the world? We got a Buddhist monk quoting the book of Ecclesiastes. I mean, really, what in the world? It says, prosecutors say this fellow entered in the modeled home and then beat Walker with a wooden plant stand and stabbed her before stealing her Rolex watch and a silver ring, which were never found. DNA evidence showed it was his blood found in various places inside the model home, including under Walker's fingernails. Walker had been a top seller for home builder D.R. Harton. She had 2 children. He acknowledged he was in the model home, but he said he only went inside to get a drink of water. Because, we always have water in model homes. He'd been put on parole in Texas after serving time in North Carolina for aggravating kidnapping and robbery. I'm innocent. Don't care. You're not. Don't care. It just drives me insane. Texas Court of Criminal Appeals declined to delay his execution after his attorneys had challenged the DNA evidence used to convict him. The evidence had been described by the appeals court as the linchpin of the state's case. Eric Allen, one of his attorneys, said earlier Wednesday he wouldn't file a final appeal with the U.S. Supreme Court. Good. His attorneys had argued new science raised the possibility his DNA could have been transferred to Walker's fingernails without any direct contact between the two. So I could just magically, here, like I'm standing here, you're standing over there, and your DNA magically shows up underneath my fingernails. Any belief that whatever the fellow's name was, that further DNA investigation would yield results that would be helpful in this case is a fantasy. It says on Monday, Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles had declined to grant the fellow either a 120-day reprieve or a commutation of his death sentence to a lesser penalty. Really? Really? A lesser penalty for what this guy did? He said the attorney said their concerns about the DNA evidence was part of a pattern by prosecutors in using faulty evidence in the case. At his trial, a forensic dentist testified the death row inmate was the source of a bite mark on Walker's neck. Such bite mark evidence has since been discredited in 2016. Texas became the first state to call for banning bite mark analysis in criminal cases. It says the two witnesses who said they saw the guy near the murder scene were hypnotized by offers with the Texas Department of Public Safety. Now, look, I don't care. He already said that he was at the place to get a cup of water. So it's just crazy. It says, I don't care if you, I don't want to get into this idea of the hypnosis. All I'm saying is you murdered a woman. Now you say you didn't. Okay, there's evidence there besides all this that says you did this. It says at his trial, the attorney told jurors his client was guilty and wanted to rob Walker, and it didn't go the right way, and he killed her. Well, that's not good. That kind of hurts your evidence of the fingernails and stuff when your own attorney says that he was guilty. It says Walker's father, who died last year, had opposed his execution and told police that he had forgiven his daughter's killer. I didn't. My wife, she's very, very good at this, and she's like big on like forgiveness. My wife is. I'm not that good. So, anyway, my point is this. I would like to see much stronger penalties for people who commit crimes against those people who go to work every day and are doing the best they can to survive. I have no sympathy for someone that attacks someone who's working. I don't care if you're a farmer and you're out there farming and someone shoots you, hits you with a hoe. I don't care if you're, at a QT here in St. Louis and someone burns the building down and you in it. The David Dorn case here in St. Louis, where it was a former police chief was working in a pawn shop and some guy shot him. Real estate agents, I always cover as many real estate agent. That woman, I believe, was in Massachusetts, beaten in the head with a crescent wrench until it fractured her skull at an open house. We had the real estate agent earlier this year who sold a man a house that was out of town, goes through the walkthrough. The buyer says, "This isn't the house I bought," and shoots the agent dead. I will always cover these things because I think it's absolutely wrong. I mean, you just have no idea how hard it is to be a real estate agent. You're away from your family. You're meeting people you don't know, and then they take advantage of you like this, and you're murdered. And all you're trying to do is feed your family at the end of the day. And I don't have a Rolex, and I don't have a nice ring, but my God, these people should be murdered. I don't care. The death penalty is totally fine with me. It helps our carbon footprint, so I'm totally for it. So with that, I'm going to head on out. If you agree with me, put it in the comments. If you don't, put it in the comments. I mean, I've given you my position, okay, 100%. At least you know what it is, and it won't change. So you won't convince me, but maybe you'll convince others who read the comments. With that, I'm going to head on out. I think it's been fun. I think we've had a good night. It seems kind of informative. Hopefully you enjoyed it too. And then I will see you tomorrow, maybe for a stream, maybe a day stream. But yeah, that's it. Have a good night. Hope your day goes well tomorrow. Bye.